3 homicides, continents apart, all looked like professional executions. Were they related? Interpol, the FBI, and local law enforcement searched for the answer. They found it in an old typewriter, small town of Salisbury, North Carolina, and found work as a language tutor. According to friends, he liked the United States a lot.
Victor had quite a reputation as a ladies' man. He was a very handsome man. He was also known to just walk up to any stranger and start up a conversation and end up going home, visiting with them for several days.
Sometimes Viktor Gunnarsson tried to attract his lady friends by claiming to be a famous American film director who would make them stars. At other times, he produced a fake FBI badge from his wallet saying he was a secret agent on a mission.
During the autopsy, the medical examiner confirmed that Gunnarsson was killed with a .22 caliber weapon. And he also found the clue about the time of death.
In the case of Mr. Gunnarsson, found what I recognized or thought to be potato skins, which would indicate that in his last meal he had something like a baked potato.
Undigested food meant that Gunnarsson was killed within 4 hours of his last meal. The last known person to see Gunnarsson alive was a girlfriend, Kay Whedon, a local school teacher.
She was able to confirm a time that they ate and able to confirm the fact that at the time they ate that Viktor Gunnarsson had in fact consumed potatoes.
Kay Whedon said Gunnarsson dropped her off at home around 11 p.m. and she never saw him again.
Victor and I said goodnight right on the front porch stoop of my house, and he kissed me goodnight.
We do believe he made it back to his apartment that night because his vehicle was parked in front of the apartment as he customarily parked it.
There were no signs of forced entry to Gunnarsson's apartment or any kind of a struggle. With Olof Palme's assassination still unsolved, Swedish authorities kept she too had reason to fear for her life. For the past year, she had been receiving threatening letters and phone calls.
Tell your boyfriend too, we seen him and his buddy sitting in the car tonight. And the next time the shots are not going to be wanted shots.
In another, the caller demanded $2,000 and said if it wasn't paid, her son would be hurt.
I didn't know who would have done anything like that. And again, it's very difficult to be afraid when you don't know who or what to be afraid of.
Kay told investigators she didn't have any enemies, only an ex-fiancé, L.C. Underwood, a retired police officer who behaved badly after their breakup.
I was dating a gentleman for the first time, and we had gone to a restaurant, and L.C. came barging into the restaurant, and he looked down at the glass of iced tea and looked up, looked at me, and picked it up and dumped it in my lap.
Since then, however, Kay said her relationship with Underwood had improved, and it wasn't Underwood's voice on those threatening telephone calls. Police wanted to interview L.C. Underwood about this matter, but he refused. When they checked Underwood's whereabouts for the night of Viktor Gunnarsson's murder, they learned he called a friend in the police department asking him to run a license plate number.
I need you to write 1028 for me. Lay it on me. David Paul Williams, 7098. This comes back to the 79 Lincoln 4-door. First name is D as in Victor. The last name is Gunnarson.
A few hours later, Viktor Gunnarsson was dead. Homicide investigators usually don't believe in coincidence. Not long after Kay Whedon breaks off her engagement to L.C. Underwood, she starts receiving threatening letters and telephone calls. Shortly after that, both her mother and new boyfriend are murdered. A background check revealed Underwood had 3 failed marriages and several women had filed complaints against him.
It became apparent that he had problems in dealing with women. He had a past history of stalking, of harassing women, of vandalizing personal items owned by these women when the relationships began to sour.
To see if Underwood was behind the threatening letters sent to Kay Whedon's home, police confiscated. Motive was revenge, but jealousy. Despite the breakup, Underwood wanted Kay Whedon back in his life, so he tried to create as much havoc in her life as possible, thinking it would create vulnerability.
Kay Whedon was very dependent on her mother, as many people are. If Catherine Miller and Viktor Gunnarsson were both eliminated, Kay Whedon had only L.C. Underwood to turn to.
Underwood typed the threatening letters on his work typewriter and had someone else make the threatening phone calls, but that plan didn't work. Underwood apparently was stalking Kay. He drove by Kay's home one night and didn't recognize the strange car parked in front.
I need you right 1028 for me. David Paul Williams, 7098.
Underwood traced the license plate.
The night of Catherine Miller's murder, Elsie Underwood had gone to that person and reclaimed that particular firearm. So we felt that that was, in fact, the .38 caliber weapon that killed Catherine Miller.
But investigators were never able to recover either murder weapon. A jury found Elsie Underwood guilty of Victor Gunnarson's murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
He was very diligent in covering his tracks, and had it not been for modern technology, we may not have been able to convict him, perhaps, without the evidence that we now have.
I don't think that he ever would have been caught if it hadn't been for the forensics evidence and the mitochondrial DNA used in Victor's case.
At 11 this evening, more mad characters and crazy situations are presented before the master of the chavs in tonight's Jerry Springer. But after the break, we focus on another intriguing case under the microscope. Stay with us on CBS Reality for Medical Detectives.